Have you ever felt frustrated, overwhelmed, or stuck wasting time in admin instead of growing, leveraging, and scaling your business? Then this podcast is for you. Welcome to Delegate to Elevate, the podcast that's all about handing off what you don't need to do so you can focus on what you do best. So here's your host, Bonnie Schutz.
Hello, everybody. I am Bonnie Schutz, your host of Delegate to Elevate. Get done. Here again with another Amazeballs coach and somebody, marketer extraordinaire today is going to speak with us. Please meet Joshua Schulman. Hello, Josh.
Hey.
Let me tell you a little bit about Joshua. He is an award-winning speaker, sought-after coach, and founder of Schulman Communications Interactive. He's trained hundreds of executives and startups in everything from sales and public speaking to acting. Oh, interesting. Nice. I better get myself in business English is what comes next. And even the strategic communication behind chaos and poker. Poker face, yes. Joshua's been a behind-the-scenes pitch coach for contestants on Shark Tank and brings a uniquely entertaining lens to leadership and executive presence with over 50 speech contest wins and a third-place finish at the World Championship of Public Speaking Regionals. His communication chops are no joke. Based in Los Angeles, he's a proud alum of both USC and the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Bring the drama. I love drama. No, I'm kidding. It's so nice to have you today, Joshua. Thank you for
having me. Thank you for having me. You mentioned about poker. You said chaos. Actually, you mean chess. Chess and poker.
Oh my God, did I literally say chaos?
But I love that actually because Sun Tzu, right, in The Art of War, where the premise is strategy without tactics is the noise before defeat.
Oh my
Another
gosh.
thing he talks about in the book is, and it's about Chinese military strategy, is that within chaos, there is opportunity.
That's so crazy that I said that. Because you know why I said that? Because it's like one of those things, you just read words and you read the first letter and the last letter, you know? And in my line of work, a lot of in the virtual assistance field, a lot of times they say, you know, we save you from the chaos. So I think my mind just unconsciously said chaos, and I apologize.
No, don't apologize. I think that's wonderful. That's
cool, though.
Life shouldn't be chaotic. I love it. Embrace it.
I love how you can help me out there. Thank you for that.
Having gone through my nonsense with cancer, I really appreciated the element of adversity and chaos, and many of our families and friends and people have gone through those struggles. And these days, you know, you can persevere much stronger and faster. And so it's not just survive, but thrive out of that experience. So I think sometimes when we're going through a challenge or two, embrace it. And even when we'll talk about today is small businesses.
And I talk on my show that I go through menopause brain fog. So, hey, it happens to ladies my age. So it's just a thing. Sometimes I just let it roll, and I'm hoping that being raw and real is just what attracts my crowd, you know, my people.
Big part of it.
You know, it's who we are.
In fact, by the way, that's why I teach acting. Because sincerity and authenticity in presentation is important, and it's a skill set. So like if you're pitching 10, 12 times, how do you hit that genuine presentation style where you don't feel you're just like, oh, I'm saying the same thing over and over? I mean, we're one person. We have one life. You're going to repeat yourself at different points, but for most people who meet you, it's the first time they ever saw you, met you.
Right. I like, you know, the ad lib thing. It's almost like getting up on a comedy stage and having to do that, you know, like you ad lib helping me out, like your acting partner and changing.
You know that expression
I love
the cuff, to speak off the cuff?
Yeah.
Nothing's ever been said off the cuff that wasn't written on it first.
That's probably true, right? They literally write it on
the idea that we're actually more prepared than we think, and ad-libbing or impromptu speaking, or what I call extemporaneous speaking, in which I teach, and I work with even 16-year-olds for extemp debate contests where they actually they cannot prepare for the specific question they're going to be asked. Podcasts work like that too. You and I are just talking about a generalized topic, but I don't know the questions you're going to ask me.
No, they have to pop in my head.
Absolutely. So go, I'm sorry, jump in. Go in.
I'm going to jump in. You have such a great background that, you know, it's what I like, a multi-potentialite, a portfolio career person. And we spoke about having lived the same amount of life. Other than
But
throwing our
by the
age
way,
out
this is
there.
a real room. People will
Yeah,
think it's actually a background
right?
photo. I can take a book
I
off the
love
shelf.
that.
I can take a Stetson cowboy hat off my collection over there, or pick
We
up a
can
chess
even throw my
piece.
F-bomb at the camera. I'll just say that, No, this is a raw and a real podcast, and I explained that to you before we hit the record button.
Sure.
That I think my listeners really like the flubs and the whatevers and the who cares, who gives a dams, all those things. But the ultimate goal is to help professional service providers, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs who are just kind of going through it, and they're just either just starting to build and don't know when they should start outsourcing parts of their business, or whether they should hang on to it, because why not? It gives me joy. I like doing it. It's something different. And then we get into the juicy stories of when you first made that choice to delegate or outsource something, like what was it and how did it go? So let's start there. Like when you started to put together what you do in your several different things, what was the first thing you outsourced, or have you even outsourced any parts of your business?
There are some things. I try and do a lot. I like to wear a lot of hats. I talk about a book that I love called Range by David Epstein. How generalists triumph in a specialized world. And this premise, like even what I teach, it's not all over the place, right? You go to my website, it has an umbrella. And so everything is under the umbrella of communication, right? Whether I'm teaching public speaking or presentation skills, or giving a toast, or God forbid, a eulogy, or sales training, right? Pitch, present, and persuade is my whole motto.
I like that.
And then even business English and acting and voice and stand-up comedy and chess and poker, they seem disparate concepts, but they're not. They're all under the umbrella. So in answer to your question, interesting, my website now, I delegated out. I had built my first one on Wix, and I did a pretty good job, and it served very well. Just by the way, also for many years, my LinkedIn, which is very fleshed out profile, served as almost like a website for years of what they needed. And, we have to aggregate. It's not just what you know, it's who you know. So I didn't need to send them somewhere else. They were already there. And I wanted them to see not just a resume, but what I offer. And that's hard for a lot of people starting a business, because their LinkedIn profile is kind of their job thing. They don't want their job to know that they're starting another business.
They don't want that green ring around there that says open to work.
But at one point, I realized I need to get professionals, and I redid my website about 3 years ago, and it's refreshed and it's got a completely different. It's from a vantage point of a professional who does it day in and day out. I don't build websites day in and day out, but I do a lot of marketing, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I love that. So I ask you that question almost to every guest. And can you guess? I'll let you, since you did not say what most people say, the first thing that they offload. Can you guess what most people say?
I would presume bookkeeping.
You presume correct.
I like doing bookkeeping. I like doing all of my things. I wear a lot of hats because I want to track. I want to know what's going on. I have a huge calendar board. I do 75 sessions a week. One group classes on 8 time zones. It literally gets nuts here. But it takes about 2 hours to put together my schedule on a big whiteboard for the next month. I'll be doing it. This Sunday, I'll be doing it on the 1st, right? And I'm going to look back, and on the bottom, it says goal and a number. And then below that, it says actual. I'll write in what that number is. And by golly, I'm going to hit, I hit every goal month over month, year over year. And I've done this for 8 years with this entity. So it says May 2025. Then we'll go in fresh. Start June. Now, people say you should have an assistant do that. No, I need to see that. So when I'm calendaring, and if you say, are you available Tuesday? Yep, I got a slot open. And then I can move it to another day of the week. All of that is electronic too.
It is.
And I have, my nephews are like, Uncle Josh, you're old school with this board. I said, I got both. Don't you worry.
Same. I do too. I have the whiteboards right over there.
So there are certain things I don't want to delegate because I want to be in tune with what's happening with my business. Yep. In regards to my bookkeeping and marketing or just finances and stuff, I want to be really on top of what happens with that.
Right.
And I don't want to make presumption about where I'm at any given point with my own business, because that part, I don't look, my mom said 2 things. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And she also said, feed your soul, not just your wallet. I said, Mom, you didn't make up the first one. That was Confucius, but go ahead. She's right. And so I'm not driven by money. I'm driven by the joy and aspect of the work that is my meaning and gives me purpose. If there's anything I learned from cancer, it's that.
Yes.
But I need to have some metrics, and I need to be able to track. Like when we want to lose weight, it's 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds a week. The doc says, not more than that. There's a
Yeah.
great book on that by John Doerr, Measure What Matters. Because if you can
Ooh.
measure something, you can manage it.
Ooh.
Even
I
Peter
like
Drucker
that.
talks about that. And if you can't, I'll argue it doesn't exist. So if I can
Right.
have someone else who could do that, who I trust, and this is the challenge,
That's a big one.
then I'll
Yeah.
delegate. Then I'll
Yeah.
delegate.
And I do share often that you can trust but verify
And
is what
Reagan
my
said
husband
that.
always tells
Well,
me.
trust but verify. Years
Yes,
ago,
Larry
he said
Bob.
that, Bonnie. Go
And
ahead.
that's like me and my tech and my like I'm just like you. Like I trust my tech calendar because I was an EA, executive assistant for 30 years and
Oh,
we only
wow.
used electronic. But darn tootin'. I sound really old saying
I
that.
love those old phrases.
Darn tootin'. Did
I
I
called
not
my
have
babe
a
sweetheart the other day on a podcast, and she said, "What are you, like 80?"
That's what I feel like sometimes when I bring out darn tootin'.
I said, "I don't know."
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
'cause
But I will have that dry erase board there until my business door is shut, which isn't anytime
by the
soon.
way, those
I've got
dry
a lot
erase
left in
boards,
me.
whiteboards, I think are a fulcrum of success for me. I have
Yeah.
whiteboards for everything. I matrix out ideas, and if you see
Yeah.
what you're going to do, it exists, and you
Oh,
actually get it done. I
your
really believe that's an
handwriting it,
essential thing.
sometimes it sticks better because you're
Yes,
handwriting it.
writing
Yeah.
it down is very good, and of course, like that Nike ad. What's the Nike slogan? Just do it.
Yeah.
It's so popular, Bonnie, because people
It
don't do it.
is.
It's not because they can't do it. It's because they won't do it, and they know they should do it. So
Yeah.
having it seen and saying, I'm doing this, 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 and this, and
Yeah.
they're not just mundane tasks. And if I can delegate, fine. But the thing about delegation, which I struggle with, maybe you can help,
Sure. Yeah.
is I feel like, okay, now I got to have a meeting. I don't want to have meetings about meetings. If I want
Yeah.
it done, if someone writes me a
Mm.
review, God bless them, I want that on my website today, not
Yeah.
tomorrow, 3 weeks from now. And it gets up
Absolutely.
there right away. If I delegate it to a company that has many, many companies like myself, they may get it within the week, they'll say, or 24, 48 hours. But I have a meeting in the late afternoon. Let's say
Yeah.
I just closed a law firm. I have a new head lawyer. Well, I want
Nice.
him to see the review I just got the other day from an attorney.
Yeah.
So I
Oh
needed
my
a
God. I'll have to admit that that's when I have access to my own website and I can put a testimonial up there today, right now, after this
Right. So I took a
podcast.
lot of that, by the way,
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
my website was built, and now I have full control over it, and I
I
run it
love
just like
that.
I do. And I'm very savvy. I love the techie stuff of it,
Me
and
too.
I learned what I didn't know and understand. But the building and the creativity, that I delegated to someone who could do it better than I.
I mean, it's a great perspective because we didn't get into business for ourselves to not try to dabble in a few things that are out, maybe outside our comfort zone or something we've always been intrigued by, the shiny little object.
Sure.
I never did websites. I created my first website and I still do my website. Admit it.
Awesome.
I have 7 VAs underneath me that support me in my business and other places.
Wow.
7. But I am like the, you know how the doctors are the worst patients. And I'm sorry, everybody. I know I've said this before, but I am the worst because I was an executive assistant. I am the worst at delegating my calendar to somebody. And it's kind of like you and your boards. It's me and my calendar. Nobody needs to see that. They cannot plan it they can't get in my head like I do. Like I could skip that. They don't know that.
No, they don't know the detail of that. You have to
Yeah.
explain. But look, the
Yeah.
shoemaker's kids have no shoes, right? I mean, come on.
Right.
Everybody, to a degree, has to delegate. There are therapists or folks who work in certain elements that can be struggling themselves, or people
Right.
in finance. I know financial advisors. I have to tell you, who's advising
Oh,
them?
I
Because
forgot
I
to
have no
invest this
idea
one. Yeah.
how well they're planning their lives, because they're a shambles, but they're giving us advice and we pay them for
Yeah,
that.
that's delegation. You're delegating your funds to somebody else to put them where they need to be, I guess. No, I love this because I struggle and the struggle is real.
It is.
And
No, it is.
because to sell my wares, so to speak, for what we sell and what we offer as a service, a lot of what I have to preach is almost counterintuitive to what I've just said. But it works for some, but not everybody. So a delegation is a muscle and you build it to however built you
I
want to
like
be.
that.
If you want to be a 10-pound weight person, or if you want to be a bodybuilder and, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, then you can go for it. But me, I'm happy to be like in the middle of that little, that
I like
spectrum.
what you said about the element, whether it works, because whether it
Yeah.
works or not, there's a word they use in pharmaceutical industry a lot, efficacy. And
Yes,
I
I like
want
that
I
word
want my
for some
work to
reason.
work like that. I want us to be more evocative when we speak, which
Yeah.
makes people think, and it's effective, and also, well, it's a little bit
Yes. All the E
and
words.
then also, but then provocative. Everybody's pushing buttons, which is not very
Ooh.
helpful, and in
Mm-mm.
regards to getting things done, and certainly not helpful in discourse and communication, where people are
Right.
constantly these days saying the wrong thing. and not meaning what they said. And then someone else has to come out and say, well, it was hyperbole or this, that, and the other.
I mean, I guess what we'd have to do is we have to think in our own minds, we like what we like. We don't like what we don't like. Think about what you enjoy doing, what you want to do in your business, and do it. Just do it like Nike does. And if you don't want to do it, delegate it or get rid of it.
Or find out why you don't want to do it. Is it because you don't know how to do it? Or you don't like to do it? Or can you gamify something? I love the element of chess and poker and other things.
Yeah, I do now too.
It deals with opponentry. And I love golf, right? It's just you and the ball. You have no one to blame. There's like 26 things you got to do to hit that darn ball. It's not a natural maneuver.
I love analogies.
Stuff is not natural. Whether it's a golf swing or running a business and being efficient. But if you know you're hitting your goal monthly, month over month, year over year, it ain't broke, don't fix it. What is going on though is struggling for you, or if you feel you're tapped out. Burnout is a thing. I worry about people who get burned out, which is not, I believe, exhaustion or being tired. It means boredom. Gosh, I slept 8 hours. I don't want to see these people all day, every day. I don't want to go to this job. That's a different dynamic. And when we talk about chasing salary, health insurance, take me to your leader, I joke about all the time. Because that's what most people look for in their income. And when you and I know as entrepreneurs and having your own thing, you control that. Now, is it risky? Is it hard? Yeah. And I'm going to go back to what you said earlier, because when I started my business, I had a couple clients like early morning and then the evening and then at lunchtime when I had a regular job. And then I had classes on the weekend. And then as I started building up a book of business, I looked and I said, the math says that this is pretty much what I'm making in salary. I'm going to leave that job, give myself 3 months and focus on my new business. And by golly,
you got there.
I was already 4 times what I was making in salary. So, I just needed to find my process. And I talk about this a lot. SOS, systemize, optimize, scale. What is your process flow? How can you optimize it and be most efficient? And scale, how does it grow? How does it develop? How do you make more money? Okay, that's part of it. How do you meet more people? That's also part of it, because it's not just what we know, but who you know and who knows you. There's a myriad of things that we need to focus on to understand about people and decision making, which is why I love poker, right? Because human beings are predictable and circumstances are not.
It's that face, it's the eye. It's all in the face and the eyes, that poker face. Yeah.
Well, there is an element. It's called the 55-38-7 rule. 55% of communication is through what we're seeing right here. Then 38% is tone. And, that's why people speak in monotone, which is such a struggle, and then pronunciation and what have you. And then the last part is content. But I think content is more important. I'm not famous. You're not famous. We go speak. People want to hear about the topic we're discussing.
Right.
Celebrities can go talk, and then there's no content here.
They're just staring at me.
Right. And because they don't need it. They're like, oh, they're famous. I want to hear what they have to say. They don't really, I just want to see them.
Yeah.
But we can flip it once we start presenting, and they go, there's some amazing dynamism and this just energy and enthusiasm. And then, yes, we have content too. We have something significant.
I love the perspective that you have. Like, you knew where you wanted to go. You got there. You do what you like to do in your business. You shove a little bit to somebody else and you're happy. And so I want to encourage the people listening, like, it's not all needing to be hustle and grind. I have to keep scaling. I have to make $1 bajillion. I mean, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. If you want to, go for it.
Okay, but then why do we want to make $1 bajillion? If you want to scale, because at a certain point, you're saying, I need this to not just survive, but to be comfortable and happy. What was the study they did a few years ago, Bonnie? It was like $75,000. If you made that, then after that, it's just kind of extra stuff.
Yeah.
I live in Los Angeles. You're not going to be able to survive.
75 ain't going to go far in LA.
Which is heartbreaking when you think about, because the majority of Americans don't make that.
They make about what, 45?
But yet they could, instead of 3 jobs, they could have 1 job that pays more than all of those.
Yeah.
So we need to work smarter, not harder. And that's, I know, something you offer in your services.
We talk about that a lot.
I teach that and coach that so people can be more pragmatic and have that process flow so that they can get things done. I teach a time-able management class because I don't want us just to be smooth talkers. I want you not just to talk the talk, but walk the walk about execution.
Lead by example is what I try to do with my team all the time,
That's awesome.
And I just think that you're a little bit of an anomaly in that you'd like to do a lot of you like to do a lot of things, and that is perfectly fine. But just know, I'm sure Joshua knows too, that if you aren't a person that wants to do everything, there is somebody that out there that likes the things you don't like.
Oh no, sure.
And they're gonna love your business, giving them that, and they're going to raise up just like you do. They're business people too. So
and that can scale tremendously for them and save time, like you're saying, and make it very worthwhile.
Yeah,
and give them free time to spend with family, hobbies, what they want to do, and be
that's the goal.
considerably
Yeah,
happy.
for a lot of people, that's the goal. That's my goal.
Yeah.
That's a lot of goal. But no, I mean, I'd love to do so many more things like this podcast, and it's a passion project for me. And so it's not a part of my time that's making a ton of money, but it's fun. It's something that brings me joy, and I'm a relationship builder. So, it's all about that. And that's my end goal. Yeah.
You're in the potential building business.
Yeah. Yep. And where it lands me, I'm, not a spring chicken. I do want to retire one day.
You're just getting started, Bonnie.
Thank you. I really
Colonel
do
Sanders
want to retire.
started KFC at like 66.
Oh my gosh, that is nuts. Well, maybe do you get like this extra burst of energy when you turn 60? I don't know. I'm not quite there. I'm close, but not quite.
I know where the energy comes from. People ask me all the time about how I even do this at 57 all day, every day. And it's not that complicated. Our country was built on this basic pamphlet, 47-page pamphlet called Common Sense.
Yeah.
So I talk about this HENS plus thing a lot, which is hydration, exercise, nutrition, sleep, and meditation. If you implement those things daily, you can do this all day, every day. But people don't get proper rest. They're not getting proper sleep. They're not eating well. They're not meditating. I don't have time for hour-long meditation, Bonnie, 20 minutes. Do a 5-minute meditation. I sit on my ottoman every afternoon at 3:45. Gives me the energy I need because I go till 8:30, 9:30, 10:30 at night during the week some nights because I have clients in other countries and different time zones. I don't want to slow down.
You have amazing abilities. I'm telling you, my friend. I don't have that energy, but maybe I need to take your advice.
I don't like to think I have anything special going on because I coach this and teach it, and my clients are doing the same thing I'm doing. And it's probably not a good sales pitch, but I'm not that smart. I'm not that talented as I joke about. I am very super uber diligent. I have to read things 4 or 5 times. I have to spend extra time for myself to process and understand and to practice and build on things. And I'm willing to do it. And that's the difference. If people are willing to do it, build a business, willing to say, I'm not an expertise here. Yeah, I'm an expert here. I'm going to delegate it to someone who can do it better than I. Yeah. Then we need to do that too, not to get so full of ourselves at our business. We want to do everything.
Because there's lots of people that say that.
I enjoy doing a lot of different things, so I don't care.
Yeah, and that was it. Like for me, it was being stuck in a corporate role where I didn't get a lot of variety. That being able to do it on my own, not working for the man anymore, and being able to do it on my own. I wanted to do a bunch, but now that I'm nearly a decade in, delegation is my best friend.
Absolutely. And you've refined it, and that becomes your expertise to even how to delegate, right?
Yeah, exactly. And build that muscle wherever you want to build it. That's like almost an amazing note to close up on here, because it just kind of shows we talked about the entire spectrum. Basically, we talked about my inability to have enough energy to work all night long like you do. So I'm on this end and you're on that end, and we, it can work for whatever you want it to be. You find your goal, whether it's monetary, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, whether it's travel. Oh, that's mine. Vacations, retirement, whatever your goal, you can do it on your own. I'm not going to lie, you can, but is it going to be 100% better than everybody else? Probably not, but you don't have to be better than everybody else.
Should we compare ourselves with everybody else anyway?
No.
In fact, that's half the problem we're having in our society today.
It is.
And certainly with young people who are comparing constantly from their lives to other lives. They have no idea what those people are going through, what their trials and tribulations are, what those circumstances. I think they need to identify, if they're going to compare, what is it I want to achieve? So when people say as advice, and I don't think this is healthy advice to say, just be yourself, because I don't know about you. I don't want to be myself. I want to be a next better version of myself.
Ooh, I like that.
What am I going to do to get to that next level? So my girlfriend's son is 28. When he was about 22, he said, "Can you make me a 2.0?" I said, "I love that." I said, "Dude, I'm going to create a little presentation on that." I had 500 people there. I hired him to work the door, and it was called "Your Apps Update. Do you become a 2.0?" Meaning, what do we specifically should do to say, now it's time to escalate or elevate or scale my business and get to another point? Or some people, just to start that business is that next 2.0.
Yeah, right.
Take no prisoners. I'm doing this. This is my plan. This is, and sometimes I work with young people, they're YouTube stars and this, and they just want to get out there and talk and share, and they don't have something solid or significant they're talking about yet. Like, can you be patient? Go work
Right.
for people. Look under the hood. How do they do it? How do they do it
Ooh, I
wrong?
like
How can you
that.
do
Look
it
under the
better?
hood. I love little analogies. My husband's a mechanic.
I
An
call it
airplane
UTH. I
mechanic.
have acronyms to help us remember things quickly. I love
Yes.
cars. And so the idea of under the hood is an important analogy to say, okay, let me see where the problem is, what
Ooh,
is going on. And some of it is very complicated and it's outside our wheelhouse.
right.
Fair. And that's when someone can call you, Bonnie, and say, who would you suggest can help me
Right.
to be able to
That,
do
yeah, because
this?
that's
Whether it's
right in the wheelhouse
bookkeeping,
of other
marketing,
support providers.
scheduling,
Yeah. Yeah.
sales. Some people are not. I want
Sales.
people to learn how to sell for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can't convince or persuade, it's very problematic. I have a lot of
Yeah.
businesses I work with that are in large businesses, mid-size, and that a founder started with a whale account or some seed funding.
Right.
They never
What
had
if
to
you're
sell.
bootstrapping? Yeah.
Right, but they never sold themselves, so they don't know how to do it, and they hire
Mm.
people, and
Mm-hmm.
they're at the behest of all these other professionals, and that's
Right.
just business development, Bonnie. That's problematic
Right.
if they can't on their own. I tell people learn
Develop it.
sales because you'll never be able to work in your life.
Yeah,
You will
right.
always be able to put
Everybody
food
needs
on the
sales.
table, always.
That's a good point because that's probably my biggest pain point right now is sales. That's a whole different Oprah
Well,
for me anyway. No, that's great. I want to, if you had to drop a couple keeping the open minded, let's say you didn't want to keep it all, you're ready to retire in a couple years and we just create this hypothetical for you. What I call them golden nuggets. What couple of golden nuggets do you think you could drop for our listeners to take home today if they're ready to delegate or outsource a part of their business? What might they need to rejig their brains or be ready to do?
well, Mark Twain said it, if it doesn't matter, I don't mind. And if I don't mind, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So determining what is going on, and I believe they should take out their whiteboard that we talked about,
Yes.
make 6 columns and identify 6 partitions. We'll call them 6 shooters
Okay.
that
I
they
like
need
that.
to look at. And they say, this is one element of my business, another element, another element. We all require to be proficient at all these things.
Right.
Most people, larger companies, actually have departments. When you're a small business, you are the head
You
of
are every
division
department.
So, but we need to run our business as one person, 2, 3, 5, or 5,000 with a similar premise of organization.
Yes.
So if we're not fluent in those things, then we should recognize what they are. A lot of people back in the day, I was going to go get my MBA at night. And a buddy of mine who had a successful business says, Josh, I'm going to tell you something. You know more about this than I do. You know what? People get MBAs because they're looking for a job. It's very attractive on a resume.
It is.
You're building your own thing. I think it's
Look how
antiquated now, but I got a
impressive
book
that is.
called The Portable MBA. Really,
I love
want to
it.
learn about how to run a business and understand cost benefit ratio and margins and this, and this, and understand how to properly put together and conduct an effective business that makes you, an income. And by the way,
Yeah.
equity is important because when we have employees, they don't get equity. They're only getting hourly
Right.
rates or stuff, and their
Right.
heart's not going to be in it the same way as you.
You're
They're not
right.
compensated that way. And so loyalty is a question sometimes.
Mhm.
Commitment is going to be a question sometimes. Work ethic is going to be a commitment sometimes.
Yep.
And as a
These are
result,
great questions to ask if
these are
you're
questions we
thinking
need to
about
ask. We should
outsourcing
do it
or
honestly to
outsourcing.
ourselves too.
Yeah.
I'm very quick to say, I don't know anything about this or that. Now with AI, I'm using 7 different AIs from everything from DeepSeek to now, of course, I had a conversation the other day with Meta AI for 12 minutes about my business. This is a very effective business advisor.
Yeah.
We were having conversations and discussion. They were asking very astute questions about my business. I'm doing a lot of work in scale using the metaverse and virtual reality where I have headsets. I have a building in the metaverse. I own the real estate. It's an auditorium and classrooms and poker and chess and conference rooms where people congregate all over the world wearing a headset. And it's a fascinating thing. Well, I wanted to be very in tune with this. I've been working on this for about a decade, so it's nothing new right now. But it's still in beta because most people, I bet yourself or many of your listeners have never even tried VR.
No, I haven't. I've done video
games,
games, but not where I had a thing on my head.
But that is something, I'm not an engineer, but I wanted to understand all the detail about how it works and what in regards to it. And then I hired people, I delegated people who built me a stellar state-of-the-art world that looks like a real environment you'd see on one of those high-tech video games. It is not some little hobby like I was doing on The Sims.
Right.
And so if people connect with me on LinkedIn,
My
they
kid
can go
loves
to my
The Sims.
profile. If people connect with me on LinkedIn, they can go to my profile and they'll see posts or Instagram or stuff, and they'll see I do promotions in my avatar in VR. And so a lot of this behind the scenes I've had to delegate, but I've done all that marketing. I've used Canva, for instance, which is excellent.
We love
paid
Canva.
version of it. People should get paid versions of certain things they're going to use. Stop trying to jerry build everything for free.
Right.
Some things you don't have to spend a lot of money on, but you know what? Other things you need to make sure you're doing it properly. Pay properly for the correct professional Wix account if you're going to be doing a website or whatever other one. I'm not promoting that. Whatever one.
Right. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Same with your bookkeeping. Same with this. Same with that. And then recognize what they are, because some of this could be delegated automated.
Automated is a form of delegation.
It is, if it's accurate and it's efficient and so forth. But sometimes it's only as good as what you put in there. So these are some things I think if people would just sit down with their own fresh piece of paper or a whiteboard and to map out, then they can proceed, right? Then they start an LLC and boom, they go, and then they're off. I love it.
Yeah. And then if you're in that place of you've hit this plateau, but you want to grow, do that board over again. Make a little change.
What do you think in your experience is the plateau that people are experiencing?
Well, it's usually like a money plateau, or it's economically related.
They're not making enough, or they're spending more than they make, or they would just
that's more. A good question.
How much do you need? You need to be a billionaire?
I think that's something, right? Yeah, you really just have to kind of get introspective. How do I want to be a millionaire, or am I happy?
No, I mean a millionaire. I can understand people have aspiration because a house here in Southern California, you're not buying anything under $1.5 million. But I'm talking about in life to be a billionaire. What is that? Do you really need that, or let alone a trillionaire? What are we going with in regards to what that might mean?
Yeah,
and so I think if people would be particular about what they're trying to achieve, you want a yacht? Okay, fine.
Then that's your goal. Get your yacht. Think about your time and
you're
how
gonna have to be making more than $1 million to get yourself your boat on the sea there, right? So.
No kidding.
And then what is that for? What is the yacht? To make you feel better? Like people do that all the time. They want a certain car, they want a bag, they want sunglasses, whatever it might be, because it makes them feel better. Self-esteem has gotten really screwed up in our society today.
It has.
What we think is a real accomplishment and achievement. Followers, likes is nonsense. You and I know that. In fact, that's why I don't make a YouTube channel, because I don't want to just spend my life working. I don't work for people for a reason. I certainly don't want to work for YouTube.
I want it out there.
How many followers and likes do I get this week?
Yeah, that's very interesting. But on the flip, if you do think that's a cool thing, if you're a younger entrepreneur potentially, and you think, God, I need these followers and likes, there are people that can do that. If you don't know how to do it,
they can, and they can sell you bots too.
They can sell you lots of bots.
But I'm not going to look at that and say, wow, that's an extraordinary achievement or accomplishment because they have X amount. That's not the criteria I care about, are followers and likes. And by the way, in the entertainment industry, actors now are being hired for certain projects based on how much of an influencer they are, as opposed to where they write for the role. So this is getting a little bit askew, what we think is really an achievement. And young people, you'll ask them, they want to be influencers. I don't know what they're influencing.
Not me.
And I'm not going to knock them, because I have a lot of young people I work with. And I'm really impressed with many of them.
Yeah.
But some of it is a little vapid and empty and not really significant. Same with acting. I quit acting years ago professionally because I didn't want to twiddle my thumbs, as I say, and wait for my agent to call so I can get 16, work on a set for 16 hours for 5 lines on a dumb TV show. I mean, come on.
I can't imagine.
I do 10, 12 shows a day. I joke. Try the veal. I just did a keynote at Disney Hall for 1,000 insurance lawyers. Find me an acting gig that pays that.
Wow, that sounds fun.
People need to find and shift and say, what do I want to do? How do I want to do it? What is the joy factor? Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I like a joy factor. Yeah.
Ikigai. Yeah. Did you and I talk about Ikigai? The
Ikigai. Yeah, we don't want to be Ikigai.
Japanese.
Sometimes got to be Ikigai, but
well, you take something you love, something you're good at. Does the world need it? Can you get paid for it?
There you go. That's a great framework.
You can converge that. That's bliss, and we should be pursuing bliss. And bliss, this notion of happiness, is not all the time. It's just that you are content. You just want to be content.
Yes, please.
Reconcile wants, reconcile needs. Same with our business.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm on a scale where I'm stressed out all the time.
No, and you don't have to, and we can be perfectly happy where we're at. And as long as we got a little contentedness, help me speaking coach, contentedness and joy in our lives, then, that's kind of my goal. And for most entrepreneurial type people is contentedness. Like, I think that's a perfect word, and I'm going to add it to my 7 C's as a bonus.
Words all the time. It's freedom is what you're saying. It's freedom that if I want to work all day, every day, then I'm gonna.
Right.
It's because
you chose
a certain element of passion, or as my buddy Chris Wise talks about, LQ, love quotient.
Yeah, I love that.
About what you're talking about. IQ, EQ, AQ, LQ, there's a zillion different things.
All the
We always
cues.
talk about this stuff in regards to how people are processing and understanding things. And I think it needs to be simple. Most people will sell better in their life if the product and service they're selling, they actually care about.
They believe in, they care about it. Yeah. And that's amazing. So I'm going to end on that note, because believing and caring and having clarity and a goal in sight, if you want to work your arse off because you love that vibe and it feels good, or you want to be somebody like me who just cannot wait to retire and I'm going to hand off everything so I can go to a beach. That is the spectrum, and we will end on that. Joshua, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you more than you know, and I'm going to, when we do go on YouTube, which will follow the audios that'll be released first, but we will get these all up on YouTube. We'll share how people can find you. And please like and subscribe and leave us a review. Let me know if you'd like Joshua to come back and speak about something else in particular, that may be a struggle that you're having, and he might enlighten you a bit. You never know. We'll ask him back. Don't know if he'll come back, but we'll see.
I will. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you so much. In the meantime, either do what you do because you love it, or delegate to elevate to get done. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
So that's it for today's episode of Delegate to Elevate. Head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $15,000 private VIP day with Bonnie herself. Be sure to head on over to delegatetoelevatepodcast.com. That's with the number 2. And pick up a free copy of Bonnie's gift and join us on the next episode.